Zara Tindall is the daughter of Anne, the Princess Royal, and the eldest granddaughter of Queen Elizabeth II. Her first name was chosen by her uncle.
Some royal secrets don't explode overnight. They simmer quietly behind palace walls for decades, until one shocking twist threatens to rewrite everything the public thought they knew about the monarchy. And right now, whispers inside royal circles suggest that one of the most unexpected transformations in modern royal history may be unfolding, because the woman who lived her entire life without a royal title may suddenly be on the brink of becoming a princess. For most people watching the British royal family from the outside, Zara Tindall has always been something of a mystery. She stands comfortably among princes and princesses, attends glittering royal events, rides in the same carriages, shares the same bloodline as kings and queens, yet somehow one thing has always been missing from her name. No royal highness, no princess title, nothing. And that absence was never a mistake. It was a decision made decades ago in one of the most private and emotionally complicated conversations inside the palace. Because long before Zara was born, the fate of her royal status had already been quietly decided behind closed doors. The story actually begins with one of the most powerful women in modern history, Queen Elizabeth II. When Zara entered the world in 1981, she was born into the very center of royal power. She was the daughter of Princess Anne, the granddaughter of the reigning monarch, and the niece of the future king. By every logical expectation, she should have carried the title of princess from the moment she opened her eyes. But something unusual happened, something that shocked royal insiders at the time. Her mother said no, not once, but twice. According to royal accounts, the queen herself reportedly offered to grant titles to Princess Anne's children. It would have been a simple decision for a monarch to make. With one royal decree, Zara and her older brother Peter Phillips could have been given royal status instantly. Yet Princess Anne refused the offer, and she didn't hesitate. Imagine that moment for a second. The Queen of the United Kingdom offering royal titles to her grandchildren, and her own daughter calmly turning the offer down. It was almost unheard of, but Anne had her reasons. She had spent her entire life living under the suffocating spotlight of royal expectations. Every public appearance scrutinized, every private choice judged, every move tied to the weight of the crown. She knew the price of a royal title, and she didn't want her children paying it. Instead, she wanted them to live something closer to a normal life, if such a thing could even exist within the orbit of the royal family. So the queen respected her daughter's wishes. Just like that, Zara Tindall entered history as one of the most unusual members of the royal family, a royal by blood, but not by title. And strangely enough, that decision may have turned out to be the greatest advantage of her life. Without the restrictions placed on working royals, Zara was free in ways most of her cousins could never be. While other royal children grew up bound to formal duties and endless expectations, Zara carved her own path. And she didn't just succeed, she dominated. Horse riding became her battlefield. The competitive world of equestrian sports is ruthless, demanding years of discipline, resilience, and relentless dedication. But Zara thrived in it. She didn't compete as a princess. She competed simply as Zara Phillips. And in 2006, the world watched as she was crowned eventing world champion, proving that her success came not from a royal title but from pure talent and hard work. Then came another defining moment, the 2012 Olympic Games. Riding for Team Great Britain, Zara delivered an extraordinary performance that helped secure a silver medal, an achievement that blended royal pride with sporting excellence. It was the kind of moment that made the entire country cheer. Yet behind that triumph was the quiet irony that the Queen's own granddaughter had earned Olympic glory without ever carrying the title of princess. But Zara's independence didn't stop there. Because unlike working members of the royal family, she had the freedom to build a life that mixed public visibility with personal independence. She signed sponsorship deals. She launched business partnerships. She collaborated with brands. She lived a life that balanced royal heritage with modern freedom, something very few royals have ever been able to do. And through it all, she remained deeply connected to the royal family while never being fully absorbed into its rigid structure. Her marriage to former rugby star Mike Tindall only reinforced that image. Together, they built a life in the Gloucestershire countryside that feels worlds away from palace corridors and royal protocol. Their home, their children, their careers, all grounded in a lifestyle that feels refreshingly normal compared to the gilded routines of traditional royalty. Perhaps the most surprising twist of all is that Zara herself has never expressed regret about the missing title. In fact, she has openly praised her mother's decision. In interviews over the years, she has repeatedly described herself as incredibly lucky to grow up without the pressure pressure that comes with royal status. For her, freedom was the real privilege, and for decades, that seemed to settle the matter. The queen had offered titles. Princess Anne had declined them. Zara had embraced the life that decision created. End of story. Except royal history has a habit of rewriting itself the moment a new monarch takes the throne. Because when King Charles III became king, he inherited not just the crown, but the power to reshape the monarchy itself. And Charles has spent years quietly doing exactly that, slimming down the royal family, reconsidering roles, rebalancing tradition with modern expectations, which is why something that happened in May 2024 suddenly caught the attention of royal observers around the world. At first glance, it seemed like a small moment, almost nothing, just a brief interaction at the Royal Windsor Horse Show. But sometimes the smallest royal moments hide the biggest clues. Because on that day, something happened between King Charles and Zara Tindall that left witnesses stunned. And according to people who saw it unfold, it may have been the moment that quietly set an extraordinary royal change into motion. A change that could finally give Zara the one thing she has never had, a princess title. But what exactly happened that day? And why are insiders suddenly convinced the king may be preparing to rewrite decades of royal tradition? Because the moment Zara walked toward her uncle that afternoon, something completely unexpected happened. And what Charles allegedly said next may have shocked even her. If you want to hear the explosive details of that moment and why Princess Anne herself may now be reconsidering the very decision she defended for decades, then you need to see what happened next. The moment that may have quietly changed Zara Tindall's future didn't happen behind palace walls. It happened in public, in front of dozens of witnesses, cameras, and royal watchers who didn't realize they were seeing the beginning of something much bigger. It was the 3rd of May, 2024. The setting was the Royal Windsor Horse Show, one of the most beloved events in the royal calendar, an event so closely tied to Queen Elizabeth II that many people still associate it almost entirely with her presence. For decades, the late queen rarely missed it. Horses were one of the deepest passions of her life, and Windsor was where that passion came alive. So when King Charles arrived there in 2024, the moment already carried emotional weight. But what made it even more extraordinary was the timing. Only days earlier, Charles had stepped back into public life after undergoing treatment for cancer. For 2 months, he had withdrawn from public duties, focusing on his health while the royal family quietly carried on without him. His return was cautious, carefully measured, symbolic, and Windsor was only his 3rd public engagement in a single week, a subtle signal that the king was gradually stepping back into his role. But the moment that caught everyone's attention wasn't the king's arrival. It was Zara. She was already there when Charles approached the endurance phase of the competition, and the instant she spotted him, something completely unexpected happened. Instead of maintaining the formal distance that royal protocol usually demands during public events, Zara walked straight toward him. No hesitation, no careful choreography, no polite royal wave. She wrapped him in a full bear hug, right there in front of everyone. Not a quick greeting, not a formal exchange, a genuine, spontaneous embrace between an uncle and his niece. According to eyewitnesses, she greeted him with a cheerful shout. "Ah, Uncle Charles." The king laughed. For a brief moment, the rigid structure of the monarchy seemed to disappear completely. There was no crown, no hierarchy, just family. But what happened next is where the story becomes intriguing. Because according to witnesses quoted in royal media, during their conversation, Charles said something that made Zara suddenly pause. Not dramatically, just enough to notice, as if she had heard something she hadn't expected, something surprising. The moment passed quickly, and the two continued chatting, smiling, and laughing. To most people watching, it looked like nothing more than a warm family reunion. But among royal observers, speculation exploded. What exactly had the king said, and why had Zara reacted that way? Not long after that moment, reports began circulating among royal commentators suggesting that Charles had been privately thinking about Zara's place inside the royal family. And those reports contained a very surprising possibility, that the king might want Zara to become a princess. Now pause for a moment and think about how dramatic that would be. For more than 4 decades, Zara's lack of a title has been treated as a settled decision, a deliberate choice made by her mother, a choice she herself has always defended. Yet suddenly, insiders were suggesting that the king might want to change it, and his reasoning was fascinating. According to royal discussions reported by commentators, Charles doesn't see Zara's situation as a reflection of her importance in the family. He sees it as the result of an outdated system, because the rule that prevented Zara from automatically becoming a princess dates all the way back to 1917, when King George V issued the famous letters patent that defined who could carry royal titles. Those rules created a simple structure. The children of a monarch's sons automatically receive royal titles, but the children of a monarch's daughters do not. That single rule is the reason Zara grew up untitled. Yet the monarchy has already begun dismantling parts of that old system. In 2013, the Succession to the Crown Act abolished the centuries-old rule rule that favored sons over daughters in the royal line of succession. For the first time, royal daughters could no longer lose their place in line to younger brothers. It was a major modernization of the monarchy. But one thing never changed: the title rules. And according to insiders, Charles may see that as a contradiction. If gender equality now applies to the line of succession, why should it not apply to royal titles? From that perspective, Zara's lack of a title suddenly looks less like a choice and more like an outdated gap in the system. And that idea leads to an even more surprising twist, because the king reportedly holds enormous respect for Zara personally. Within royal circles, she has long been viewed as one of the most grounded and reliable members of the extended royal family. She carries herself with professionalism. She connects easily with the public. She represents the monarchy without the controversies or drama that have surrounded other royal figures. In other words, she already behaves like the kind of royal the institution depends on, which raises an interesting question. If Zara already represents the monarchy so well, why shouldn't she be recognized with a title? But the story becomes even more shocking when another name enters the conversation: Princess Anne. Because according to reports emerging in early 2025, something unexpected may have happened behind palace doors. The same woman who rejected titles for her children decades ago may now be reconsidering that decision. Imagine the irony: the Princess Royal, the person who fought hardest against giving Zara a title, possibly approaching her brother and suggesting it might be time to change course. If true, that would signal a dramatic shift in thinking. And the reason may be surprisingly practical. The monarchy is running out of people. For decades, the royal system functioned with a large network of working members carrying out thousands of engagements every year: charity events, diplomatic visits, state ceremonies, public appearances. But over the past several years, that structure has shrunk dramatically. Prince Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties. Prince Andrew was removed from public life. Would she accept it? Or would the most unexpected royal promotion in modern history be politely turned down, just like it was 40 years ago? Because sometimes the biggest royal twist isn't who receives the crown, it's who decides they don't want it.